What if I told you the Epstein story is far deeper than we ever thought? Over the past few weeks, the release of millions of documents has sent shockwaves through the media. Names of some of the most powerful people in the world have appeared, names that many of us never imagined would be linked to Jeffrey Epstein. But what if these revelations are just the beginning? The documents reveal something much darker, something that has been hidden for years. This isn't just about the man himself, but about a system that enabled him to move freely among the world's elite. The story that's been unfolding over the last few decades has only scratched the surface. Now we're faced with even more disturbing questions. What was Epstein truly up to, and who were the people that allowed him to operate in plain sight? Stick with us as we dive into the truth that's finally starting to emerge, and brace yourself. What you're about to learn might change everything you thought you knew about the powerful figures of our time. Let's start with the basics, the most shocking revelations from the latest document dump. Over 3 million pages of records, thousands of emails, flight logs, and video evidence were released, many of which tie the world's elite directly to Epstein. These weren't just fleeting associations. No, these were long-standing connections built over years of personal and professional dealings. And they go beyond just socializing. They involve flights on private jets, meetings on private islands, and exchanges that suggest much deeper entanglements than anyone imagined. Names you probably heard before, politicians, billionaires, even royalty, keep appearing. Clinton, Musk, and Gates, just to name a few. And these aren't just passing encounters. We're talking about flight logs showing trips to Epstein's private island, emails detailing meetings and communications, and contacts that suggest an ongoing relationship even after Epstein's conviction. How could such powerful people have been linked to someone like Epstein? And why is it that so few of us even knew about it until now? One thing is clear, the dots are finally starting to connect, and the full extent of these relationships is far more sinister than anyone could have guessed. In a world where so many avoid speaking the truth, one man dared to break the silence. Joe Rogan, one of the most popular figures in podcasting, recently made a shocking admission. He revealed that for years he brushed off the warning signs about Epstein. Joe openly confessed that long before the Epstein story broke wide open, Alex Jones had warned him about Epstein's island and the dark activities that took place there. Rogan, like many others, initially thought it was just a wild conspiracy. The idea of a private island where powerful figures were being compromised with underage girls seemed too far-fetched. It sounded like something out of a movie, a plot too insane to be true. But now, looking back, Joe Rogan admits that the truth was far darker than he could have ever imagined. The thing that makes this all so disturbing isn't just the fact that it was true, but how easy it was for so many people to dismiss these warnings. Rogan's experience shows just how much the truth can be ignored when it seems too bizarre or impossible. And now we know that those conspiracies were anything but. They were simply the beginning of a much larger story. Now that we've seen the files, it's becoming clear that Epstein wasn't just a man with a disturbing agenda. He was a puppet master, pulling strings across a network of elite individuals. The documents released are more than just records. They are pieces of a puzzle that connect powerful people to Epstein's island, the infamous Lolita Express, and a world of secrets that were hidden in plain sight. But what's even more shocking is how these people weren't just visiting Epstein as casual acquaintances. No, these were long-standing, repeated interactions. We're talking about flight logs showing prominent figures regularly traveling to his private island, emails arranging meetings with Epstein long after his conviction. And these aren't isolated cases, these are patterns. Bill Clinton, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, names that are now connected to Epstein through internal emails, messages, and even photographs, suggesting these individuals were more deeply involved than anyone could have imagined. What's more disturbing is how these connections were concealed. Epstein surrounded himself with people who were either blind to the dangers or willing to turn a blind eye, and for years, these relationships remained hidden in the shadows. But now, with the files out in the open, the truth is finally coming to light, and it's impossible to ignore.
American accent. If Epstein was really just a socialite or philanthropist, it might have been easier to explain his connections to powerful figures. But what if the truth is far more sinister? What if Epstein wasn't just some eccentric billionaire hosting lavish parties? What if he was an orchestrator of one of the largest blackmail schemes in modern history? The theory goes like this. Epstein wasn't just surrounding himself with powerful people, he was compromising them. He was collecting evidence, footage, and documents that could be used as leverage. Whether it was illicit activities, affairs, or even worse, Epstein was quietly gathering dirt on the world's most influential individuals. But here's the kicker. If this was all part of a larger blackmail operation, why were so many of these people continuing to meet with him? Why did they keep associating with someone who held so much power over them? Was it fear, greed, or something else entirely? The more we learn, the clearer it becomes that Epstein wasn't just a participant in the game of power, he was one of its chief architects. And the scariest part? The game is still being played, even after his death. As more documents continue to leak, we can't help but ask, why hasn't the full story been told? Why are so many of these files still sealed? Why is the government dragging its feet when it comes to releasing the truth? The reality is this. Epstein's network wasn't just about money or sex, it was about power, control, and secrecy. The slow drip of information we're getting now feels deliberate, almost as if someone is trying to keep the most explosive parts of the story under wraps. Government officials and agencies continue to delay the release of full documents, offering vague explanations and constantly pushing back deadlines. And it's not just the government. Epstein had access to some of the highest offices in the world, and his ability to move freely among them raises uncomfortable questions. Was Epstein working as a pawn for a larger force? Could he have been an asset to certain intelligence agencies, helping to manipulate powerful figures for the benefit of someone else? It's a chilling thought, but one that we must consider as the documents continue to surface. As much as we've learned, there's still so much more that remains hidden, and that's exactly what makes this story so unsettling.
Bill Gates, a name that's synonymous with technology, innovation, and philanthropy. But now, that name is tied to something far darker. The latest batch of Epstein files reveals troubling connections between Gates and the convicted sex offender. Connections that some might say led to the unraveling of Gates's personal life. Emails have surfaced showing Gates in contact with Epstein long after the billionaire was convicted of his crimes. But that's not all. Documents suggest that Gates was involved in some very questionable actions, including trying to hide a sexually transmitted disease from his wife, Melinda. As if that wasn't enough, Gates's marriage ended in part because of his ties to Epstein, with Melinda herself confirming in interviews that the Epstein scandal raised serious red flags for her long before their divorce. While Gates has denied any wrongdoing, the resurfacing of these documents forces us to ask, what was his real relationship with Epstein, and what does it say about the judgment of one of the wealthiest men in the world?
It might sound like something out of a conspiracy theorist's wildest dreams, but recent revelations from the Epstein files have reignited one of the most talked about theories of the past decade, Pizzagate. For years, Pizzagate was dismissed as a baseless conspiracy, but new information suggests that there may be more to this than we thought. The latest batch of documents shows the repeated use of the word pizza in emails and communications connected to Epstein and his associates. While the mainstream media has largely brushed off these references, Some online communities are beginning to draw connections between these mentions and the alleged crimes Epstein committed. Could the seemingly innocuous word pizza be code for something much darker? Is there a deeper connection between Epstein's activities and the Pizzagate theory? The truth may be stranger than fiction, and the more we uncover, the more we realize that not everything in Epstein's world was as it seemed.
The Epstein files have been released, but the truth is far from being fully exposed. The more we learn, the more questions arise. The puzzle pieces are slowly falling into place, but many of them are still missing. What we know for sure is that Epstein wasn't just a man, he was